There you go. How are you guys? Oh my goodness, I have not seen you guys in moons. Moons. Hello, Nuts. How are you? Hello, Linda. Diamonds around the world. Courtney, Sue, how are you guys? I hope you can hear me. Um, I am showing you the eye of the tiger. It's kind of one of the things I'm working on. Let me change. Hello, Don P. How are you? I am going to change my camera so you can see my face. Welcome to Dip in Time. My name is Rhonda, and I'm really glad to be here. I missed all of you. Oh my goodness. Tammy says, oh, good. You guys can hear me. Yay! Tammy says, hi, Rhonda. Nice to see you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all of you. I will say that I didn't bring the warm weather back with me, and that's okay. How is everyone? Muttnut says, I have some what? Okay, just been dealing with low energy. Aw, Mutts. It's okay. Sometimes we just have low energy, and that is just what it is. Hello, Jeannie. Hello, Anita. Sue Wilson, how are you guys? So, it's been a while, and boy, do I have some tales to tell. So, if you guys remember, um, Dawn says, so far the new year started out with a bang. Is that a good bang or a not so good bang? I know for us, my husband and I, we left on the 29th and we took 17 hours to go down under. Yes, that is correct, down under. And we lost a day just because the time zone changes. Anyways, we actually got there early and we circled. We were there an hour early, but I will tell you, it wasn't good at the time. Okay. Is it getting better? Dawn, is it getting better? Yes, I hope so. Um, but I will say I didn't mind the flight there, even though it was very long. Dawn says yes. Good. I'm glad to hear that. That is good. Hello, Ember. How are you? So yeah, we flew from Calgary to Vancouver. Had a stayover or a layover, not a stayover, a layover, and then we flew from Vancouver to Sydney, Australia. And I will say I was really, really surprised with the number of families. And I'm not talking older kids, I am referring to 5 and below. 5 years old and below. Lots of toddlers, lots of babies. There was actually a 9.5-month-old little girl beside us. And they were actually really, really good. Really, really good. She was more happy being down and walking back and forth, um, and quite awake throughout the whole thing. They were actually from the Netherlands, so they had a much longer flight than we did. Um, but it was really interesting how a lot of the people that were on the Calgary to Vancouver flight were actually going to either Bangkok or Sydney. It was insane. And both flights were jammed packed. So I think in the Australia one there was like maybe 3 seats that were empty, but it went by fairly fast. Hello, Tracy. How are you? Working and lurking. Absolutely. So as soon as we landed, I don't know if you guys have been to Australia. Let me know if you have. So where I'm in Canada, we have a dry heat when it's warm. I'm in Alberta, so um, in the map it goes like BC, Alberta, sorry, and we're on the other side of the mountain, so we don't get the moisture like BC or Ontario does. We get a dry heat, and then when we got to Australia, as soon as we went to disembark on the plane, you would get hit by this warm, moist humidity. It was incredible. The highest it got to was 38 degrees Celsius, and the lowest it got was 21 degrees Celsius. Now, that may not sound like much for those that have uh, higher temperatures. Our summers here are usually between 20 and 28. Getting into the 30s is really warm for us. So we drank lots. Um, but it was really interesting because in Australia, they drive on the other side. So they drive on the left side, which is different from us. So when I go to cross the street, I automatically look right, but that's not where I need to be looking. I need to be looking left. Look left. And there's been a couple of times where my husband's like, nope, go back. Ooh, sorry. I look left, right, right, left, right. I'm trying to get used to going left, right, left. Um, their subway system, their transit system is awesome. We did most of our stuff by transit. They have commuter trains that actually go like on railways tracks, and then they have like a subway station that is more like a light rail, and they go up into the subway. Their subway is double decker, so they have double decker trains, which was very fascinating to me. Um, and the train, you could get it right at the airport, and it would go all the way down. So it was really interesting. Hello, Billy. How are you? Just sat down to watch and listen. Welcome, welcome. Momo, how are you? Hello, Jen. Hello, hello. How is Jude doing? I know Jude is going through a bit of a transition with going to bed without a bottle. I am hoping things go well. It's always a challenge. So yeah, so in Sydney, you actually buy a card. It's called an Opal card, although it's not Opal, that you can add money to because their system is a tap on, tap off. So depending on where you get on and where you get off, it charges you accordingly. And you can actually put it on your phone as an app. The challenging part is there's only certain increments you can put on the card. And not knowing how much things are going to cost, we had no idea. Uh, Jeannie, really? Commuter trains from suburbs to Chicago with double decker. That is so cool. So in Calgary, we actually don't, we have a light rail transit system. We don't have a subway, and we don't have a passenger train system. We used to, um, but it just wasn't economical. So Don P, like an ease pass for trains. Yeah, right. It was so cool. And apparently, when I was talking to my daughter who went to London for work, she was saying that their system is very similar. And I'm like, Oh, interesting. And you didn't actually have to buy a card, you could just pay with your credit card. So, Jen, just hopping in for a thumbs up. We'll need to do a replay, but love you. Oh, you do what you need to do. Absolutely. It's all good. All good. So it was really interesting because we got on the train at the airport and you don't feel very weird out of place because there's tons of people with their suitcases with them. Hello, Dixie. How are you? So we all get on. Um, and the other thing, I don't know about the ones in Chicago, but you don't press a button to get on or get off. You just wait for the doors to open and then you just climb on in. Um, and there's a gap between the platform and the train. Like there's a gap. And I'm like, ooh, okay, that's a good thing to note. I have troubles lifting my feet and I always seem to find a way to fall down. Um, but it was really interesting. And you could go between cars. And I mean, I've seen ones like that, like in the States and like New York, right, where you get on the train and then you can go to the end of the car, press a button, and hop onto the next one. So cool. We can't do that here in Calgary. Um, so we were having some novel stuff with that. The other thing regarding the passenger trains is so we took the passenger train to go down to one of the racetracks. My husband is interested in horse racing. Part of his families have um, raised, bred, groomed them, right? Amber, the air trips us. Right? Yes. It's the air's fault and not our feet. So we took a passenger train and it was really interesting. So we get on and there's people in there and usually when I get on, I'm picking a seat depending on where it's facing. What I didn't know was the seat, you could move it either way. I'm like, oh, that is so cool. I'm like, honey, you need to do it so I can film it. Yes, tourist. You could, yeah. If the seats were like facing together and you didn't need that, you could push it backwards to face the other way. So cool. We did discover by chance, and we weren't the only one that discovered it, was with their passenger trains, they have like one train that has like it's two cars in one that you could pass through back and forth. And then they had another one that had two cars that you could pass back and forth, but you couldn't travel between this car and this car. What we discovered was we were on one car, and certain stations that they stopped at only had a platform for the other portion of the car. Guess what happened? We were on the wrong train car. So we like do 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 do, and it's like, okay, it's our stop, and we get up, and you could open the door, but there was no platform, and it was a drop, a drop. And my husband and I are like, well, maybe it's the other side. So we like run across down the other way. People are looking at us, and luckily there was another person who lived there, was on the same car as we were, and needed to get off and couldn't get off. And she was talking, right? I know. She was talking to the guy on the platform, um, saying, "We need off. Like we need to get off. Can we just get down? Or do you have a ladder or a step that you could take from the platform over to us so we can climb down off the train. And he's going, no. And he's like, there was an announcement. We're like, no, there wasn't an announcement. And even if there was an announcement, I had no clue what they were talking about. And she's like, I have to go to work. And I'm like, okay, you're a native and we're with you. Okay, so we're good. And we didn't know when the next station was where we would have a platform. We also didn't know what the schedule was of when the train was coming back. We had a dinner reservation. I'm like, okay, well, we can't do anything about it. We're just going to enjoy this. But yeah, this lady was quite determined about trying to get off the train because she had to go to work. And she's like, I don't know when the next train comes back. She's like, it could be 10 minutes, it could be half an hour. I'm going to be late for work. I need to get off. And I'm like, us too, please. Luckily, the next station, um, the next station did have a train that was coming back, but it was like this old little conductor house. It was so cool. Yeah, planes, trains, and tourists. So, anyways, we get there, and it was a really good thing that we had a dinner reservation because they decided to change how they were going to operate the restaurant and go a la carte versus buffet and not open until half an hour past our reservation. So you just learn what you go with. Um, but it was really interesting. You know, Sydney is very beautiful. It's very clean. Yeah. Um, and the multicultural there, lots of tourism, very polite, um, a slower patience, which is nice. Um, Lots to see. The people were wonderful. We stayed a little bit downtown, so we did lots and lots of walking. Every day we walked. We walked so much, I wore my shoes out. I am not joking. When the last night we were there, I had to go buy new shoes because my shoes, I, I, I broke them. I broke them. I'm like, okay. My husband's like, did you break your shoes? I'm like, yeah. Because like, to give you an idea, we probably walked, like, we would get up in the morning and we would walk from like 9:30, 10 o'clock all the way through till like 7 at night. Lots to see. Beautiful. Lots of rich cultural, the artwork, the sculptures, the way they had things laid out. You'd go through one area and it actually had like a little water park for the kids, and they had like climbing apparatuses and swings, and right next to like the art museum. And then you get down to like the fish market and like Chinatown. And now, one of the things that we had a challenge with was we are used to our morning coffee. They do more of European style coffee, lattes and stuff like that. And up in Canada, my husband likes a Tim Hortons, which is kind of like a Krispy Kreme, or what's the other one I'm thinking of? Um, like just a neighborhood coffee. So that was a challenge. Um, but there was so much to see. We did manage to find a Starbucks, so that was one that we knew. Um, So the first things that we kind of did, we kind of went down to the pier to take a look around, get familiar with it, and it was really interesting. Ooh, Caitlin, yep, we love Timmy's. hmm Um, so that was probably one of the first things that we got when we got home. Was like my husband was like, "I need a Tim's. I need a Tim's." Um, so we went down to the pier and take a look around. Interesting enough, and it may not be something that I had originally thought about. I knew they drove on the other side, but when you walk on the sidewalk, you walk on the other side. It makes sense. I know here we drive on the right, so we usually walk on the right, and then the other traffic comes on the left. That's how we walk. We share the sidewalk. Well, because they walk on the other side, or sort of because they drive on the other side, I had a tendency to go to the right side, and I'm like, right, go left, use the other right, use the other right, right? Back when I says here in PA at Tim Hortons opened up 15 miles from me in New Jersey. I was so excited. Yes. And it's interesting because I have lots of friends that are like, Tim, what do you mean you need a Timmy's? Who's Tim? I'm like, it's a coffee. Don P, yeah. And automobiles, yeah. So it's really interesting that um, we had to walk on the other side, which made logical sense after I thought about it. And when we got down to the pier, the amount of people, incredible. Not that it was bad, don't get me wrong, um, but the Sea World or the Sea Aquarium was down there. Their little wildlife was down there. All the boats, and when I talk about boats, I'm talking about like little boats, yachts, little cruise ships, and then over in the harbor, there's like there was like the big Disney cruise. There was the Princess cruise, and we're like, wow. And I don't know why I was so surprised to see them, um, but it is. Tammy says Germany is all the same. Yeah. So when you go somewhere, depending on how they drive, like what side of the road they drive on, they probably walk similar. So just interesting because when I went to Japan years and years ago, I never really thought about it. So in Japan, they drive similar to Europe and Australia. They drive on the other side of the road, but I never really thought about walking. And maybe it's because, like in Tokyo, the population is very large and there's so many people. It just kind of like you go. Now I know in Japan, and we have a couple of them here, is when you get to the four-way, like when you're at the side and you're waiting for the light to change so you can go across. Usually you have to go one way and then the other way if you want to go diagonal. In Japan, you get traffic going this way, you get traffic going this way, and then they all stop. So everybody, as a pedestrian, can go wherever they want to go. So if you want to go diagonal, if you want to go straight, if you want to turn, like it was really cool. So the whole intersection stops and you can go whichever way you want to go. They also have a song, a little music tune that goes when it's time for the pedestrians to go in Japan. Really interesting. Australia has something similar, um, but all the corners are different. Some of them are similar, but other ones are different. At first, I thought it was like a monkey kind of. And I'm like, I don't see any wildlife, but they do. Yeah, Germany, they drive crazy. I can see that. Yep. The Autobahn, never been on it. I don't know if I ever would go on it. It just kind of scares me. Um, okay, Rhonda, some highlights. what did we do? So we got there we left on the 29th, we lost day, we got there on the 31st. That was New Year's Eve. And my husband had found a boat that would go out onto the harbor to watch the fireworks from the bridge, the harbor bridge. Um, it was very busy. People were literally running for seats once they got on the boat to find a seat. It was, I'm like, you're in heels and a dress. Okay, I'm not messing with you. If you want that, you go for it. I'm good. So we stayed on the harbor waterfront. And then at the last minute, we had no idea because there were so many boats going out, um, all the different size boats. There were even people in kayaks going out to watch the fireworks from the bridge. And I was like, I'm pretty sure they probably figured out where everybody's going to go and park. But on the boat, because they backed up towards the bridge, so we could see it. But when you went in there, we had no idea which way the bridge was going to be for the boat. So when it got time, my husband took one side of the boat, I took the other side of the boat with our cameras, and we were trying to figure out, okay, what angle can we get? He got the angle. There were people with like their little wand sticks, like sticking out in front of people. I was like, we're good. The party atmosphere was um, very fulfilling. Like it wasn't very intense, but exciting. People were cheering from boats, wishing everybody else, like across from them, Happy New Year. There were along, so we were in the water, and along the other side of the banks, there were areas that were also partying and bringing in the new year. The fireworks were on the bridge. So the bridge was like this and had the overtop. They had fireworks going all the way down and all the way around, shooting off. It was going around the whole harbor. What I found interesting also was at 9 o'clock their time, we could hear fireworks and we could see some of them from our hotel room. Like, okay, did we miss our time? Like, is this day just kind of flew ahead of us and we No, what they do is they do two celebrations. They do a 9 o'clock and they do a 12 o'clock. The 9 o'clock one is more family friendly, so the kids can actually like partake in the fireworks and bring in the new year. They can go home and settle down. We also think, and I haven't confirmed it, so if you guys know, let me know. The 9 o'clock they celebrate in Sydney for the first place in Australia that actually turns to New Year. So I thought that was kind of cool. Um, it was, there are like street performers that would do things. There were people out there singing and violins. We were in our hotel room. I'm like, I can hear music. That's not our neighbor. You look out the window and you could see the street performers. Very cool. Um, when we went down to Chinatown, now I don't know about you guys, but new headphones. Um, Here in Calgary, our Chinatown is, I was going to say Chinatown. It is all the Oriental shops. It is all in Chinese. It is dragons and the Lucky Cats and things I'm used to. Well, we heard they had a Chinatown, so we went down to find this Chinatown, and we're like, did we miss it? Is it further. I don't understand. We were looking for what we were used to. It's not like that. It is Chinatown. Yes, ducks hanging in the window. Yeah, that's what I'm used to. Like, I'm used to going down and, you have your little shops that have like Chinese herbs and markets and, you know, the clothing and, you have meats hanging in the window. You got your bubble tea. Like, that's what I'm expecting. You see a lot more Asians. And I'm like, that's cool. That's not what it is. When we finally got down, it was like, I think we're in Chinatown, but I wasn't sure because it didn't look all that much different in terms of building architecture. The streets didn't change. The population was very similar. Like in terms like when we go to Chinatown, there's a lot more Asians. Um, because in Calgary, when the Asian population came to Calgary, they built that community together to keep their traditions, to keep their language, that was their community. And when we walked down there, like the streets looked the same, the stores looked the same. What I noticed was, yes, there were some more Asian language, um, but the stores remind me of the stores that I saw in Japan, if that makes any sense. Think of Tokyo, and you see like electronic stores and um, versus like um, Macy's, Macy's department store. You go in and it's a department store. Where when you went down here, their their storefronts look similar, but the inside of the stores were different. They were more their culture. I'm gonna have to share some of our pictures. There was one store we were walking past, and it literally made me stop in my tracks, and I had to go back, take a real good look, and then I ended up taking photos or a video because I thought it was a store that was empty. There was this counter in the front of it, one person on one side, and there was two people on the other side. Walls were all black. There was this little tiny opening in the back against the wall, and I saw a head poke out, but there was nothing on the walls. There was no shelving, there was no merchandise. The the windows in the front were all window glass, like pane of glass, and on what looked like the bottom shelf of where the window is were a food item, big space, food item, big space, food item, big space. And I'm like, this store is open. I thought it was closed. I thought it was an empty spot. Turns out that the counter that was inside, the clerk was on one side, people would walk in, stand on the other side, place their order, it would be made in the back, and then they would walk through the door and give them their order. It was very different. So it definitely made me stop and think. Okay. Um, but other stores, like the one right beside it, literally was like an arcade. Yeah, big, well, big space. Yeah, it was like my room with nothing in it except for like a little table. And you'd go in the closet, do what you need to do, and come back and give it to me. Um, the store right beside it was an arcade, but not a video game arcade. It was a claw machine game. And they had them like side by side stacked together and doubled, and they were like up. There was staircase in there. and you would put your money in, and the claw would go out, and you'd pick something up, and it was busy. It was busy, and it was all these like little Japanese toys and stuffies, and I'm like, that is so cool. Like there were stores that were like all Hello Kitty. It was very interesting. So it really depends on what you're used to, is what I thought it was going to look like, and it was not at all. So interesting. Uh, we also discovered that that was where the nightlife was. So we went down there, and it was like 9, 10 o'clock, and it got dark, but the lights came up, the music came out. It was filled with young people. There was a guy on the corner that he had his drum set, and he was making music. And there were three little Asian girls in school outfits sitting cross-legged in front watching this. And I'm like, okay, that's very different. It was something very unusual for me. And as we walked and came back, they were still there. And I'm like, I wonder if it's a family thing. And that's why they're there. And at one point they got up and they started dancing. It it was so interesting. So interesting. Some of the other things that we did, scorpions as pets. I didn't see any scorpions. We did manage to find the rats, um, two of them. We were so there as well. We were looking for a pizza place, and my husband's like, "Oh, this is apparently supposed to be like the Chicago style pizza. We need to go have some." I'm like, "Okay," and we couldn't find the place. We've got our maps, and we're looking at the streets. We're like, "How did we miss it?" In Sydney, which apparently is similar to Europe, is you have your block, and you have your streets, and there is an alleyway, but it's not an alleyway. It is a street within a block. And it's just like this little tiny sign that if you weren't looking for it, you'd miss it. And that's how we found a lot of the streets there, where you'd go and you'd see the big signs, the like more of the common ones, but you'd try and find another one, and you'd have to look for a sign within the block, which is the pathway to where you were going to go. So there would be blocks. You used to have like this little pathway. You go in, and there was like another mall, an interaction going on within that. So it was like all this information, and just it was very cool. At one point, we went to walk the bridge. I lost 5 feet. Um, thank goodness for phones and Google Maps. As long as your phone doesn't die. Because over in Australia, they also have a different voltage that they use. So you had to have a converter to plug your phone into. Well, I killed my phone too. So I have new shoes. I had to get a new phone, new headphones to go with the new phone. Because we'd go out, and so the one day we went to see the sea aquarium. And as I got there, we did that, and then we were going to go to the wildlife. Well, as soon as we finished the sea aquarium, my battery died. And I'm like, no, how am I supposed to take pictures? Because I didn't take my other camera with me. So I'm like, honey, picture. Oh, just give me your camera. So I ended up getting a new phone as well. So it's been a bit of an expensive outcome, but absolutely enjoyed it. The The sea aquarium was much larger than I thought it would be. Much larger. There's actually like different levels on it, and from the outside, it looks very small because it's on the pier front. And when we get in there, it's like there's another section, another section. It was so cool. I got to see a platypus. Um, so platypuses are on the endangered species list. They are trying to help them get off the list, but they're not as big as I thought they were. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. Well, I've never seen a platypus before. Um, but I was thinking it would be more the size of an otter, a beaver. They're not. They're the size of Dipper. Like, like literally, this platypus was like this big. It's got the bill, it's got the webbed feet, it's got the tail like the beaver, but it was like that big. It was it was mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. Um, the koalas, oh my goodness, absolutely gorgeous creatures. They are now putting in a section where you are no longer allowed to touch them, which makes sense because I know I wouldn't want people to touch me as much as well if they were coming to visit me. Um, but they all sleep like 20 hours a day. 20 hours a day. So when they were allowing people to touch them, they were actually waking them up and they were not getting to sleep and they were being stressed out. So while I may not have been able to touch a koala, I brought one home. Oh my god, it's like a squishmallow. This is my bee. So I got him. Um, the kangaroos. Oh my goodness, the different types of kangaroos they have. They have like gray ones and they have red ones. Apparently, the red ones are the ones that are temperamental, which kind of makes sense because redheads kind of can have that temper. Um, but when we went to the Taronga Zoo, they will actually give you food and you can actually feed the gray ones. I'm like, oh my god, they're so sweet, so sweet. The baby ones are so cute. Yeah, I cannot imagine seeing a baby platypus. Cannot imagine. Like this thing was absolutely gorgeous. I don't want to say this thing, like the platypus was absolutely gorgeous. Anita says I must be related to the koala. It seems I can sleep 20 hours too. Some days, yeah, me. Um, and then they had penguins. Oh my goodness. They showed like the different types of penguins that live within the southern hemisphere. The empire one is like almost the size of me. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm not messing with you. I'm not messing with you. When we went, you could actually hop on a seat, and they would actually take you in and ride you alongside where the penguins were. Couldn't touch them. Um, but oh my goodness. And they had a baby penguin. So if you look at my thumbnail, there's like a little penguin that has like a little stuffy penguin. That's the baby. The baby is big as the other penguins, but they're fluffier. And they actually had him in a box for his own protection, and then they'd let him out. But he had his own little penguin stuffy for comfort. And it was cold in there. Um, but it was so, so cool. So cool. The different types of birds that they have, the Flowers. Oh my goodness. There, we went into some of the areas. They have like this flower garden, all the different flowers. Blue and white lilies are like wildflowers. They were growing everywhere, and they were big. And I was like, wow. They had flowers that I thought they were like animals within the trees because they were like this big and they were all covered in spikes. I'm like, what are you? They have trees that are called grass trees, and literally, uh, the trunks are probably about yay big, and your leaves look like grass. They look like grass. So if you ever want to draw a picture and you want to make it whatever you want to look like, I would almost guess that there was something out in the world that looked just like that. I had no idea that it was grass trees. They had wild cockatoos. They are loud. Wow, they're loud. So like tons and tons of them flying everywhere. Um, it was incredible because I was like, "Is that a seagull or is that a cockatoo?" I'm like, "That's a cockatoo." We heard a kookaburra. Never saw that, but we heard it. You could hear the laughing. That uh, some of their pigeons. I had no idea it was a pigeon. It had like a tail on the head, and it's called a crested pigeon. I'm like, oh, they were ibises, long, skinny legs, white body with a long neck, and a black beak. I would be showing you guys some of these pictures, but I had to download them to transfer to my new phone. So I will share some of you or some of them for you. Cool plants. Oh, very cool plants. Very cool plants. Um, in the garden, there were some, like they had one section that was just all roses, different types of roses, the colors. They had ones, some of their trees. Um, one of the trees, they had palm trees. I'm like, palm trees? Well, I guess because it's tropical. So they had palm trees. There were other trees that kind of look like a palm tree where they had like the pieces around it. And they said, if you want to know how old the tree is, count the number on their bark. That will tell you how old the tree is, not the rings, the bark. A lot of the things that they have in terms of nature and places, they are referred to as what you see. So, for example, there is one tree and it's called a coach tree. And we're like, coach tree? What do you mean by coach? And like, what do you think they made from this tree? They made coaches. So they named it a coach tree. The Blue Mountains, it's because of the haze, it makes it look blue, so they called it a blue mountain. I thought she was about to say I was about to hop on a penguin. Well, some of them, like the Empire penguin, like it's large, like 4 feet large. Like when you see them on TV, they don't give you proportions. They don't give you proportions. I'm like, oh, I'm not messing with you, man. No. Amber says, did you see any giant monster plants or huge pothos? No, I don't know what a potho is. A monster plant, monsteria plant? Yes. Yes. Um, my husband's not a huge gardener. He loves seeing them, but I was like, hello, Amy, how are you? Thank you for walking me home. I could have spent my whole day in the garden plant or the garden. Um, it was incredible. They have like one of the political buildings, like the common area house, the common house, is actually on site with the garden. It was incredible. I would have been jailed for trying to bring some of those cuttings up. I know. I'm like, oh, I want to take one of those. Can I have one of those? No. Um, we went down to Bondi Beach. The sand is incredible. It is very fine, very soft, um, very light. You could walk in that with your feet, no problem. What I will say is, I thought Bondi Beach was much larger because I watched like the lifeguards in Bondi Beach. I watched like other reality shows, and they pan, and I thought it was huge. It's not huge. It is very pretty, and they have like this is where you could swim. They have the play area if you want to do sports on the beach. They have swimming areas, and then there's an actual spot where you can surf. And people were out there surfing. You go around the edge, and there was like a kids swimming area. Um, they said it was a kids pool, but it was really made out of the rocks for the kids, and there was a lifeguard on site for the kids. And if you went down a little further, there were rocks that you could walk out onto and watch the water come in and settle over the rocks. And there were pathways. And we did not have enough time. We need to go back and experience the whole thing again. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Um, we went to the Blue Mountains and watched waterfalls, and we rode on the railway that went down. And in the railway, it's just like a little cart, but you could angle your seat. So if you want a steeper look going down, you could bend your seat, and it was called cliffhanger. So of course, I had to do it. My husband's like, no, I'm like, yes. And then we went on a gondola that had like a glass bottom on it, so you could see the area as you traversed through it. They have like these mountains that are called Three Sisters. There used to be five, but with erosion, it's now only Three Sisters. Um, in a similar area, they have like a cliff, and they call it Wolf Mountain. And it literally looks like the side of a wolf. It was so cool. Um, I am definitely going to have to put like a little slideshow together for you guys and just post it. Um, we jam packed as much as we possibly could. We didn't go any further than Sydney. Um, next time we go, we are going to go do more. I just don't know when that's going to be. Like I said, we did the bridge. Uh, my husband has the shirt that says, I climbed it. So when we went to, hello, hola, Tijuana, how are you? You're never late. You're good. You're good. Um, so on the Harbor Bridge, you could have the opportunity to transverse the entire bridge. You could go halfway up and then down. You could go underneath. So on the bridge, you could go on the outer side, or you could go on the inner side. We went on the outer side up to half, and then we came back down. Uh, they definitely make sure you're safe. Everybody had to do a breathalyzer test, including children, before you were allowed to go out. You had to make sure you had no electronics, no No watches, no video cameras on your glasses, none of that, because they want you to be safe. They give you this outfit to put on, um, and literally, you're just wearing this outfit and your underwear because you're going to be going up and you're going to get hot. You have a radio, you have a headset, you have a clamp that is attached to you that gets clipped on. Your glasses have clip on in case you drop it off. Your hat has a clip on. You're clipped. You're clipped. um, and what we found out was some really interesting facts about this bridge. That this is the one bridge in the world that's actually been the safest in construction. So when they built this bridge with the standards that they had the least amount of injuries or fatalities of any bridge ever built in the world. Amazing. All the rivets that are in the bridge that hold the bridge together were all handmade, if that makes sense. So literally, you'd have one person who would be up there making these rivets hot, 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 forming them, and then they would throw it to the person across from them, who was called the catcher, who caught it, put it down, and hammered it in. I'm like, oh, I so would not want to do that. That gives me a whole new definition of a pitcher and a catcher. No thanks. I do not want to be trying to catch something that hot from across the way. Um, but like, and when you go up on the bridge, when I thought about it, I thought I'd be just going up and going along, like kind of like a Chelsea kind of thing, right? You actually go up, but then you actually have to cross to get to the next side to go up, and then you go across the top to go down the other side. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I would be going up and down. Well, I did, but I went up, across, and down. I thought my husband was going to soil his outfit. We got up and they're like, and of course the guide had a camera. He would take pictures for us, and he was going to do a video. My husband's like, no, I don't care if it's included. I don't care if it's free. I don't care. No, I just went down. So we never got the video. I'm like, it's okay, honey. You did really well. Let's go back. Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I could go on and on about the things that we saw, the things that we did. I'm also looking at the time, going, it's gone by so fast. And I know Princess Tia is going to go on after me for blinging in the new year, 2025. Oh, I will definitely put some pictures and videos together for you guys. Um, the New Year's on the water, watching the countdown and bringing in the new year. My husband managed to catch it all on his phone, so I will share that with you guys. I will share pictures of the animals, the plants, the flowers. Um, it was incredible. Incredible. It went by so fast. Definitely are going to go back and want to see more. Um, it was truly worth it. If you ever get a chance to go, by all means. We actually met another couple. So we actually took another boat out on the water for lunch. and it was and the couple that was right beside it was actually from Ontario, and the couple beside them, they were from Alaska. I'm like, oh my god, it's incredible. Um, and you know, a week's not long enough. The individuals from Alaska were actually making their way around. They were just retired, so they were just enjoying themselves. Um, one of the things I thought was very interesting um, is they were talking about the top four immigrants into Australia. And it really surprised me. The first top immigration is from London or England. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. Okay, I get that. The second is India. Third was China. And then fourth was New Zealand. I don't know what I was thinking, but that was not what I would have thought. I could see England, but for whatever reasons, I didn't think India would be the second highest. So very, very interesting. Um, Now, mind you, they also do have homelessness. They have graffiti. They do have areas that are less taken care of. You're going to find that no matter where you go in the world. Um, I think, it's very similar to what we have um, in that no matter where you go, there are commonalities, if that makes sense. So yeah, so I'm going to have to get together with my backup. Night, Linda. Yeah, I'm gonna sign off shortly here because I want to go catch Tia on hers because I've been working on some stuff. And as we're talking about working on stuff, I'm working on one, two, four paintings, and I'm trying to be calm with it. I've got my tiger from Market. I have my next to me or next to you from DAC. I have my Egyptian elephant that I'm working on. And I pulled up my J wall. And it fits. It fits. So I'm going to be able to leave my J wall here and work a little bit on it all the time. And I don't need to worry about shuffling around. So, okay, Dawn, I will go take a look at that. I just want to say thank you guys for being here. If you like what you see, please give a thumbs up. And I am going to put some videos and pictures together for you. There's more I can share with you. And I think going forward, this is going to be my year of hashtag all wonders 2025. And that is going to be whatever I want it to be. I can work on whatever I want to work on, whether it's diamond painting, latch hook, cross stitch, anything I've ever started working on and I want to get back to. So all wonders 2025, because I want 2025 to continue going strong, and you guys got it as well. So let me know in the comments after the video is finished. What are you working on? Is there something that you worked on, put away, and want to come back? What will 2025 hold for you? What do you hope it will hold for you? I have packages that have come in. I haven't had a chance to take a look at them, so I have stuff like that for you to see. And I'm going to just say Thank you guys. Thank you for being you. I really enjoyed finishing 2024 off strong with each and every one of you. And I will see you guys next week. Okay, all things new, right? Anyways, have a good night. See you guys around and have fun.